Welcome into the Cowboys Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chris Daughtry, filling in here today for Tom Downey. The Cowboys get good and bad news after their game today against the Giants. Couple of injuries to go over here on today's show, plus also Brian Schottenheimer getting his first victory as a head coach in the NFL. But if you guys love Dallas Cowboys wins, help me out. Get down there and like today's video for me. Good, bad, ugly. In my opinion, it doesn't really matter. The Cowboys went out there and they got a victory today. So help me out. Get down there and like today's video. Let's start off with some good news on today's show. Brian Schottenheimer ended up getting his first win as a head coach in the NFL. And like I said, it was not pretty. The Cowboys had 12 penalties for 106 yards in this game. And to be honest with you, the Giants did kind of beat themselves plenty of times in this game today. You know, the opening kickoff, go all the way back to that. The Giants took it back to about the Cowboys' 30-yard line. That got brought back by a hold. They had like 6 penalties on that opening drive when the Cowboys were out there on defense. They just constantly were getting first down, chunk play after chunk play after chunk play, but every single time it got taken back by a penalty. This game was super drunk. There was at one point in the game where there were 4 penalties on one play. I don't know if I have ever seen that happen in a football game. And I think with this Cowboys team, so far throughout the first 2 weeks of the season, the Cowboys are kind of playing to their competition. You know, they had a chance last week to beat a very good Eagles team. Nobody even thought that they were going to be close in that game, and they did end up competing in it. Then you go to this week against a terrible Giants team, and you almost lose. You had plenty of chances in this game to lose it. But look, congrats to Brian Schottenheimer. You know, Dak Prescott and Jerry Jones ended up giving him the game ball at the end of today's game for getting his first victory. And I'll be honest, you know, I think it should really go to Brandon Aubrey, or maybe even Brian Schottenheimer needs to get Brandon Aubrey a Rolex or something like that. You know, things have got to be cleaned up, especially on this Cowboys defense, because just like last week, they were just not good enough. You know, you took the lead with 52 seconds to go in this ballgame. I think the Giants only had 1 timeout left, and they had to go down and score a touchdown to take the lead. A field goal wouldn't have done anything for them, and you just give up a deep ball, you know, 3 plays, 63 yards in 27 seconds, and you ended up giving that 48-yard touchdown pass to Malik Neighbors. This defense, man, it has got to get better. I thought the defensive line played pretty well today, but, man, the secondary was just god-awful. And, you know, it was really up to the offense to keep them in this ball game today. And even at times, that was kind of a struggle for Dak Prescott and this Cowboys offense. You know, they hurt themselves a lot in this game as well. But, you know, that's one thing I think that, you know, you can't just go out there and play to the level of competition that you're playing against. You have to go out there and you have to play good football every single week in the NFL. And look, I am glad that the Cowboys got a win in this game, but, you know, going down the road, it's not going to turn out your way when you go out there and you have over 100 yards in penalties. They have got to get this cleaned up on the penalty side and on the defensive side as well. So Brian Schottenheimer got the game ball for the Cowboys today. I kind of think it should be Brandon Aubrey, but let me know what you guys think down at the pinned comment of today's video. Who should get the game ball for the Cowboys in their victory today against the Giants? Let me know what you guys think down at the pinned comment of today's video. Like I said, I think it should be Brandon Aubrey. I think he was really the main reason why the Cowboys ended up winning this game today. He was 4 for 4 on extra points, but then he was also 4 for 4 on some massive field goal opportunities, every single one of them over 40 yards. That first one in the second quarter, good from 51. And then, you know, right there, right before the half, I don't even know what happened. I think they should have went out there with, 8 seconds left and let Brandon Aubrey try another field goal. They didn't end up getting it there for him. But then in the fourth quarter, 44-yard field goal. And then as time expired at the end of the game to send it to overtime, a 64-yard field goal. This dude's an absolute freak. He's an alien. He's not a person. And then in overtime, as clock expired, you were this close to tying the Giants. That would have just been, probably the worst case scenario, to be honest with you. Ties are absolutely un-American. The NFL needs to do something about that. Go to a second overtime or something. I don't know, but whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. Brandon Aubrey gets it done in overtime as the clock expires with that 46-yard field goal. I think he was the main reason why the Cowboys ended up winning this ball game today. All right, we will continue here with some more good news and some more bad news on injuries in just a second. But today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it is good to be right. I use PrizePicks for a ton of different types of sporting events, whether it's professional football, baseball, basketball, MMA, boxing, college sports, and so much more. PrizePicks is a ton of fun, and if you guys know ball, you can win real money all season long on PrizePicks. This was our power play, ended up hitting for us today. Brandon Aubrey went with more than on PATs for him. CeeDee Lamb, more than receiving yards. He ended up getting over 100 in this ball game today. And then Travis Kelce, that is the max discount, only needed a half receiving yard to get that today. Went with more than on that. So make sure when you guys see those max discounts, get those into your PrizePicks lineups. PrizePicks is super, super simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 players. Stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money today. PrizePicks also invented the flex play, which means you can cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks does not hit. So download the PrizePicks app today and use promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That link is down in the description of today's show. Also going to be down at the pinned comment of today's show as well. It's PrizePicks. It's good to be right. All right, KaVonte Turpin also went down with an injury today. He had an injury to his neck, ended up leaving the game after returning a kickoff, kind of got bent up in that, kind of a little bit of a helmet-to-helmet action. I don't really know why that wasn't, a penalty on that, but either way, ends up going out in this game and does not return. Now, we did get some good updates on this KaVonte Turpin injury as well from Jane Slater, tweeting this out just a little bit ago, saying KaVonte Turpin tells me that his x-rays came out good, adding that he's going to be fine, but says that his neck is just stiff right now. They got him wearing a neck brace, and she even added that the rest of the team was kind of janking on him a little bit in the locker room for having that neck brace on. But man, if KaVonte Turpin ends up missing some time for the Cowboys, that's going to be real tough because, this Cowboys wide receiver room was something that, you added George Pickens via the trade in the offseason, and that kind of made this wide receiver room decent at the end of the day. But then with KaVonte Turpin out, know a lot of people aren't real big fans of Jalen Tolbert, and you did also sign Ryan Flournoy to your 53-man roster, but man, if KaVonte Turpin ends up missing time, it's going to be between Jalen Tolbert and Ryan Flournoy, and I don't know if really anybody's super confident in those guys. So you got CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, kind of still a big question mark after that for the Cowboys. So I want to hear from you guys down inside the comment section. Will KaVonte Turpin play next week versus the Bears? Let me know what you guys think. Type Y for yes or N for no down in the comment section of today's show. Will KaVonte Turpin end up coming back and playing next week versus the Bears? Now, the Cowboys might have also gotten some pretty bad injury news here. We don't really know the extent of it quite yet, but Cooper Beebe left today's game with a right ankle injury and did not return. Brock Hoffman came in to replace him in overtime as well. Kind of had that mishandled snap at the beginning of overtime with Dak Prescott, and that could have been a killer for the Cowboys if somebody on the Giants' defensive line ended up jumping on that. But Cooper Beebe was seen, he had to be helped to the locker room after the game. It wasn't really just a limp. He had his, arms around two other players, and it just did not look very good at all. Hasn't been a report as of me filming this video right now on exactly how bad that injury is going to be for Cooper Beebe. I'm sure we're going to get an MRI here soon, and I'm sure we'll find out that in the next, day or two, if not at some point later tonight. On Brock Hoffman, though, for now, it looks like Brock Hoffman is going to be your starting center. And, Brock Hoffman, he does bring a little bit of toughness and grit to that offensive line. When he gets out there, he's kind of that guy that's, chirping to the defense and kind of, protecting Dak Prescott and whoever else is out there in the piles. But is anybody really that confident with Brock Hoffman at that center spot? I'm really not. He got his first snaps of the season today in overtime. That's not something that you really want to end up happening. Last season, he played 515 snaps. Most of those, by the way, came at that right guard spot. So I really hope that they can get Cooper Beebe back soon. Hopefully it's not going to be any kind of long-term injury for him. Your center is that guy that is usually making those protection calls for the rest of the offensive line. And, since Brock Hoffman has been on the team, he's never really been good enough to end up being the starter. In 2023, Tyler Biadasz was the starter there, and then Cooper Beebe ended up winning that spot last year as a rookie. So if Cooper Beebe has to miss games for the Cowboys, that might end up being bad news. So what is your confidence level in Brock Hoffman? Scale it for me 1 to 10 down in the comment section of today's show. For me, it's probably not that high, to be honest with you, but I want to hear from you guys down inside the comment section. What is your confidence level in Brock Hoffman?